start.
Hi everyone, welcome to our bi-weekly call again. So we are all learning cloud native or DevOps in the Women in Cloud Native community, and today we're going to talk about AWS. And then we have Mark, who is going to take us through what we've learned for last week or all through this week about AWS. And we've been following the 90 days of DevOps roadmap, and we have been learning a lot. And today we are here to share knowledge with one another. And Mark is going to take the lead in telling us or showing us or sharing his knowledge with us in this call. So very shortly I'm going to Mike is going to present to us what he has to share with us. Okay. So but before then, I would like each and every one of us I would like to introduce everyone here on the call to you. And we have the two co-founders here on the call with us. Nancy and Rukshali, do you have anything to say before we move on?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Nancy. So I've been like a DevOps engineer, but right now I work as a DevRel engineer. And so I think Rosaline, you're doing amazing work with 90 days of DevOps, and I think we are learning a lot and enjoying it a lot. So I'm looking forward to Mark's presentation today. Yeah, learn from Mark. Over to you, Rukshali.
Thank you very much.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Rukshali. I work as a DevOps intern at Health Catalyst. I have been learning DevOps since my second year, and this 90 days of DevOps is like a revision for me of all the topics and all the concepts. And yeah, Rosalie, you're doing great job while leading this 90 days of DevOps. And I'm really very excited for Mark's presentation today.
Yeah, thank you very much. The 90 days of DevOps initiative has really been going on well. I love the fact that as a community we are able to learn together and to explore DevOps together, because I believe learning together, when you learn in a community, it kind of fast track your progress, because you have a community to fall back on or to learn from. I'm so happy about this call. I'm so happy about what we're going to learn further today. So I'm going to let Mark introduce himself. Mark.
Hi everyone. Hi Rosaline, Roshali, and Nancy. It's amazing to be here today once more. And 90 days of DevOps, what can I say? It's been amazing from the start, from Git, learning all those commands and navigating the Linux. And finally, we're on AWS. This should be around week 4, week 5. I'm not so sure. But yes, and I will be taking us through AWS and what I've learned about AWS throughout this week and the previous weeks. Let's get started.
Yeah, sure. You have the whole floor right now. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. So we have a DevOps roadmap, and from my roadmap, I update my GitHub repository. You can check it out, and I'll post the link I'll make sure the link is in the description for everyone to follow through. Basically, this is my repo. I update it whenever I'm trying to learn something new. And where are my resources coming from? These resources are coming from AWS white papers. Most of them from here. It's basically an overview of AWS web service, Amazon Web Services. It has everything to do with their services and a good explanation, just a brief explanation. And also the training material. That means from classes and from notes that they post on their training and certification website. Okay, so let's start. AWS. What I've learned is AWS is cloud vendor. We have several of those. We've got Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Oracle Cloud, just from the top of my head, even Google Cloud. So there are several vendors, and throughout this week, I decided to choose one. We were supposed to choose one, and we all decided to go for AWS for our 90 days of DevOps. Essentially, we take a look at what cloud computing is. And from here, you can see cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power, database, storage, applications, and other IT resources through a cloud service platform. And the best part about it is it's pay-as-you-go pricing. That's the best part. So when it comes to AWS, they have so many services for you. It's not only this compute power, database, storage, applications. It's several services, and some of them even span outside the cloud. Out here, we have advantages of cloud computing. Number one, what I was able to learn is that there is two types of expenditures when it comes to cloud: operational expenditure and capital expenditure. So when you're talking about those two, capital expenditure is money that you use to create your on-prem data servers. And that is what we avoid when we come to the cloud. Talk about AWS. Advantage number one of cloud computing: trade capital expense for variable expense. So we don't have to keep purchasing data centers and trying to have the on-prem all the time, which requires a lot of money. Sometimes even startups don't have that money, and even renting. Sometimes they end up buying data servers that they don't even use. They start spending, some even rent these data centers, but AWS has their own data centers located in regional centers around the world, geographical areas, where now they rent them to you. So basically, it's only you paying for what you're using in the service, not everything, unlike how you would have done in your own prem data centers. So that is under capital expenditure. AWS are saving you that. Next, you have the benefit from massive economies of scale. Instead of me going to launch my data server, my data center somewhere, and you launching your data center somewhere, and someone else launching their data center somewhere, that is not good use of resources. It would have been better if we were able to pool our resources together and have one large data center for all of us. That is the economies of scale that AWS is bringing to everyone. So that's a benefit from massive economies of scale. They achieve lower variable costs by aggregating the customers in the cloud. We have stop guessing capacity. That's another advantage. You can see that if we have customers in the other side, on the other side of the world, we don't know how many they are. So we might go rent or purchase a data center that has a capacity of accommodating 500,000 users, but in real sense, our users are not that much. And by then we've already spent almost just lots of money, and we won't be able to utilize all those resources. So you stop guessing capacity when you're with AWS, and you only spend what you're going to use. Next, you have increased speed and agility. Most of the time, we don't have the resources to expand to regional areas outside our country or wherever our data center is. So we end up using a lot of time trying to accumulate the resources in order to launch a data center somewhere. You can find company A wants to expand to Tokyo, but unfortunately, they don't even have the money to buy a data center there. So they have to wait a couple of months and some even years so that they can be able to pool resources to be able to afford a data center there. Now, instead, AWS allows you to transfer and replicate your data to other regions, and it's cost efficient, and that increases the speed and agility. Saved you 3-4 months, even years of time. So next you have stop spending money running and maintaining data centers. That's another advantage of cloud computing. You find that okay, when you are in point number one, I mentioned capital expenditure and operational expenditure. So when you're talking about operational expenditure, you're talking about maintaining data servers, and that is done for you by AWS. You are not going to be maintaining data centers in Tokyo. No, they'll do that for you. What your work is to focus on your application and your infrastructure, that is the server itself. And you can go global in minutes instead of you trying to wait for 5 months, 6 months. Just like I said, you just from a click of a button, you can change your data center to be elsewhere. So that is the advantage of cloud computing. Next, we go through types of cloud computing. We have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. I like to use this analogy where there is pizza as a service, and essentially this is a very good example to show you what you're talking about when you talk about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So let's say you're at home, it's time for dinner. You have several options. You have number one, you can decide to make a pizza from scratch. That is if you have an oven, if you have the ingredients, and if you have the time. You go for traditional on-prem. In our case, it's on-prem. This is the on-prem that we talk about when we say on-prem, traditional on-prem. So here you can see there's cheese, toppings, ingredients, oven, the gas, soda, and the dining table. That's what you get from traditional on-prem. That is your pizza made at home. Next, we talk about infrastructure as a service. Now, what we mean here is what you're being offered by the cloud vendor is typically the operating system. You're offered storage, you're offered networking, you're offered what else? Compute. So all you need to do is take care of your operating system, your virtual machine, the runtime, the applications, the data and access. So just link that with taking and baking. Perhaps you've taken the frozen pizza from the supermarket. You know there's frozen pizza, yeah? So you take it to your house and all you need is an oven to warm it, or even a microwave. I'm not sure. I don't usually buy pizza frozen. But yes, you've already been made for the dough. You've already been made for the tomato sauce, the toppings, the cheese. All you need to do is throw it in the oven and you get your soda, you get your you use your gas and the dining table. That's infrastructure as a service. Link it with take and bake. Next we have is delivered pizza. You can just ring them, hey, I need a pizza brought to the house. And what do you spend there? You're only spending on dining table and soda and delivery services. So that's another point. Something else is software as a service. So with software as a service, you're going and eating pizza in the hotel, wherever you are, whether it's Pizza Hut or Domino's, wherever it is you'll be dining out, and that's software as a service. You're given the entire package to you. Your work is to just avail yourself and eat. That is software as a service. And that's what we talk about when we come to cloud. We have on-prem, where you're dealing with everything on your own. You're baking your own pizza. You have the dough, you have the sauce, you have the cheese, the toppings, and everything. Next, we have infrastructure as a service. We come and then we talk about you being given the compute machine, and all you need to worry about is a virtual machine running under it, the operating system. You can choose whether you want Linux or Mac OS, and you can now deal with your application, the runtime, and everything. Platform as a service, you're offered the operating system and the runtime and the virtual machine. Your work is to just work on your application. You deploy it on the running workstation that you've been given, and then you end up working on your application, the code itself, and you have software as a service. Software as a service is just you using the software itself. I think a good example of this is Google, what did I read? That was Google Drive, yes. So essentially, you're not worried about the infrastructure or anything. Your work is to just throw in your files there and they'll store it for you. You're only using the software. Everything else is managed by the provider. Okay, next, we have cloud deployment models. Some people call these types of cloud computing, but I don't think it's the same thing. What we went through was types. This is cloud deployment models. So we have cloud, where everything is hosted on AWS or whichever vendor you'll be working with. So cloud-based application is fully deployed in the cloud. There's nothing in your on-prem servers. We have hybrid, where you have a mix of cloud and on-prem. We talked about on-prem being everything in your place of work. Where I work, I'm an intern in Oaknet Business, and we have on-prem servers, and we also utilize AWS Cloud. So in Oaknet, we have a hybrid architecture. You can see the deployment model is going to be hybrid, where we utilize on-prem. Some applications, web apps that we develop are running on-prem servers, and others are running in cloud AWS. So that is the difference between cloud, hybrid, and on-prem. Now, AWS offers availability zones and regions. So a region is a geographical area where the servers, the data centers are held. So inside a region, we have availability zones. So think of it like region is a general name of a specific area. So inside a region, we have more than one availability zone. Yes, so multiple availability zones are located in different places in the same region. So if we look at one of the most popular regions, we have US East 1, that is in North Virginia, somewhere here. So these blue dots are regions, and the orange ones are coming soon regions. So if we look at this region, inside this region, we have three or two availability zones. It's more than one most of the time. So in these availability zones, they are separated within a typical metropolitan region and are located in risk floodplains. So the electricity that is supplied to one availability zone is not the same electricity supplied to a different availability zone. This makes it more resilient. So whenever something happens, if there's an earthquake in one region, you have another region. If there's an earthquake in one availability zone, your replicated data is stored in another availability zone. Next, you have security and compliance. In AWS, security is ground zero, and they talk about keeping your data safe, because what is the point of deploying it in the cloud if it's not safe there? So there is something they call safety in the cloud and safety of the cloud. So if it's of the, so it's a shared responsibility model here. The AWS cloud enables a shared responsibility model. While AWS manages security of the cloud, that means of the cloud, yani, as in everything that they deal with. It's the cloud itself, it's very secure, but in the cloud, whatever is running in the cloud is your responsibility. That's a shared responsibility model. So this means that you can retain control of the security you choose to implement to protect your own content, platform, applications, systems, and networks, no differently than you would in an on-site data center. Okay. So benefits of AWS security: keeping your data safe, meet compliance requirements, save money, and scale quickly. And compliance, so in AWS, you have to follow the compliance rules, you have to comply, and you'll be able to understand the controls. There's something called there's a service called AWS Artifact, where you can find all these compliances and they offer that for everyone so that you can be able to comply, whether it's rules in your region or according to their instructions. So we have several cloud services that they offer. Number one is AWS Management Console. We have a command line interface. We have a software development kit. So these three are essentially places where you can be able to interact with these services. We have the console, that is a web interface. I will open it in a few minutes. We have the command line interface where you can now run AWS CLI. You install it on your command line, and you can even run it on the Cloud Shell that they offer on their console. And we have software development kits. That is to help developers mostly so that they can automate tasks easily. We have AWS Analytics. This is where data is collected and reviewed, and where you can analyze your resources on the cloud. You have application integration, cloud financial management, compute services, contact centers, containers, database, developer tools, management and governance, so many things. And okay, I'm seeing my time is almost up. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so as I was saying, we have analytics, application integration, cloud financial management, compute services, contact center, containers, database, developer tools, and all of these are services offered by AWS. They have lots of topics inside. If we talk about containers, we have Amazon Kubernetes service, we have Elastic Container Service, and if you talk about database, we have the DynamoDB, Amazon, the AWS DynamoDB. If you talk about storage, you have S3, and there are so many services that you need to be aware of, even as a cloud practitioner or someone dealing with a cloud, because you need information about all of them to maximize profits and to be more efficient. Let's talk about the AWS Management Console. So I'm going to go ahead and open it here. AWS. So yeah, I'm just going to sign into the console real quick. So that I can be able to show you. So yes, with time you'll be able to use multi-factor authentication. It's very nice. It's very good for your console because you're trying to be, as I said, ground zero. Security is very important. So I'm just going to go ahead to my Google Authenticator app, and there we go. And I'm inside. Yes, where was I? So you can see the AWS Management Console. When you talk about access and manage AWS through the console, it's simple, it's intuitive, it's an intuitive user interface. You can use the AWS mobile application as well. So talk about the console, you have this. Inside the console, you have the place where you can search for different types. Let me look for IAM, the services that they offer, whatever it is that you need. There's also a list of them here. You can see all these services. Yes, you need to know all of them. Most of them, sorry, it's not all. So what else did I learn? Yes, so I've been using the console for a couple of weeks now, and let's talk about EC2 instances. We'll talk about what CloudWatch is. We'll talk about Route 53, storage gateway, and basically that's what the console does. It gives you access to all of these things. Next, let's talk about the command line interface. Just give me 1 minute. I need to increase my lighting. Yeah, I'm back. This is better. Got a little bit dark. So let's talk about the command line interface. So the CLI. The Amazon CLI is a tool that you use and you can download on your command line from your local machine, or whether you're using a cloud developer environment like Gitpod, or even access the CLI from the console. You can see over here, we have something called the Cloud Shell. On the Cloud Shell, there's a command line that you can use, and it's already installed the Amazon CLI. So with this command line, you can run commands like, okay, that's weird. Perfect timing. Anyways, with a command line interface, you can do several commands very easily, and it's so much better than moving from console. You go to IAM. If you want to add a policy to a user, you go to EC2. If you want to launch an instance, instead just use a command line interface. And if you know a couple of commands, and they also offer automatic, they offer the filling in case you're not sure of a command. But yes, you have to the auto generate the command, finishing the command for you. If I want to do something, perhaps check my identity keys, you just run AWS STS and then get caller, and it will finish for you the get caller identity. Next, we talk about the software development kits. These are used especially by developers. You're using APIs that are tailored to your programming language. If you're good at this language and this language, you can use an SDK to do several things on AWS. Now, if we move on to analytics, we have several services like Amazon Athena, Cloud Search, Kinesis. So with Athena, you can query your object storage on S3. So you can now just decide, I need to go through Amazon S3 and I need to find this and this. Now we have Amazon Athena. It's a query service that makes it easy to analyze data in Amazon S3 using standard SQL. So SQL is structured, and also S3 objects are also going to be structured. So you can just say, I need to look for this, this, and this with this tag or this key and this value, and you'll be able to obtain it using Amazon Athena. We have Cloud Search. Cloud Search is when you're using a web application and you have several things going on here. The search option that you have, you can use Amazon Cloud Search to generate that to make your work easier. And it's a service that Amazon offers, a managed service, meaning they're the ones who manage it and you're just working with the application itself, and it's simple and cost effective to set up. Amazon Kinesis. So basically what this does is that it will process data real time so that you can be able to obtain insights and react quickly to new information. Perhaps you're filming something on video and you're live streaming it, and you want data to be obtained immediately and fast, and it will ingest that real-time data, whether it's through video or audio or application logs or website click streams, especially in Internet of Things. IoT is very important for machine learning, and you can use Amazon Kinesis to do that. So there are 4 of them. There's Data Firehouse, Analytics, Streams, and Video Streams. You can go check that out. Amazon Redshift, it's used cloud data warehouse. Essentially, if you have your data, whatever way it is stored, Amazon Redshift will be able to obtain that data and give you insights. And it's simple and cost effective. It's especially used to analyze data because essentially we're in analytics. So it's very important for analyzing data. Application integration. Now, when we come here, we're talking about simple notification service, simple queue service, And let's start with SNS. I did not go through all the services in application integration. I didn't go through all the services in analytics. I'm just going through a number of them. The ones that I'm pretty sure you might meet if you're planning on being a cloud architect or just working in the cloud. These are services that you might come across. So simple notification service. It is a service that Amazon offers for sending notifications to subscribers from the publishers and to alert you in case of anything that you might need. Even in AWS budgets, if you have a budget and you don't want it to notify you through email, perhaps you want it to notify you through messaging or different type of method, you use Amazon Simple Notification Service. So it's fully managed. It's a fully managed publisher subscriber messaging service that enables you to decouple microservices, distributed systems, and serverless applications. So SNS, essentially, this is one type of SNS. You create a platform application and you have endpoints. So first of all, there is one thing you need to know. SNS will never send you a notification unless you opt in from the subscriber's end. The subscriber has to opt in from his end and to complete that notification service. So essentially, SNS will always be sending those notifications, whether the endpoint is available or not. So if we have a notification from an alert notification, whether the endpoint is there or not, it will send. Now that's where we integrate it with SQS, Simple Queuing Service. So with SQS, it will queue that notification until the endpoint is available. So here you can see it enables you to decouple and scale microservices, distributed systems, and serverless applications. From my understanding, SQS, you can send, store, and receive messages between software components at any volume without losing messages or requiring other services to be available. If I was to use SNS alone, that means whenever the endpoint is not available and the notification needs to be sent, it will send regardless. But if you use SQS, it will queue it. A queue is a data structure where you put in something and then it will come out when it needs to. So essentially, that's what it does. It will queue the notification, and whenever the endpoint is now available, it will be sent towards them. So we have two types of SQS. We have standard queues and FIFO queues. FIFO stands for fast in, fast out. So here we have a producer who sends messages to Amazon SQS, and SQS will manage the message queuing service. It's a fully managed message queuing service to reliably and continually exchange any volume of message from anywhere. Let me just zoom in on that. I hope you can see. So we have encryption, the messages are encrypted, and now the consumer will now be able to access it when they're available. Next, you go to cloud financial management. With cloud financial management, we have several services that AWS offers so that you may be able to manage your financials in AWS. There's a lot of things you might go ahead spending and it might dig deep into your pocket. So we have AWS Cost Explorer so that you can be able to visualize and understand and manage your AWS costs and usage over time. So if you need to understand where all your money is going, perhaps you had this instance running and you forgot about it, you didn't utilize budgets, you didn't utilize Cost Explorer, that's what happens. So you need to minimize the costs, and these services are there to help you and guide you. We have AWS budgets as well. So AWS budgets gives you the ability to actually forecast what you're going to spend. So you give it, you set custom budgets that alert you when your costs or usage exceed or are going to exceed. It can actually alert you when you're forecasted. Perhaps you can put an alert when it reaches 50%. Let me just show you in the console real quick. we have our billing dashboard here. So I hope it's going to work this time. Okay, there we go. Yes, one thing I found out was it's always good security practice to not use your root user. So I have an admin user here under my name, and my admin user does not have any permission to see the budget. So unfortunately, I will not be able to show you the budgets from this end, but it's just good security practice. I would have shown you from my root user. But yes, essentially budgets will notify you and alert you using SNS as well. Like here, I said you can link it to an SNS topic that will be sent to you whenever you're forecasted to exceed your budget. So there's a difference between budgets and Cost Explorer. Cost Explorer will help you plan and budgets will help you plan on what you're willing to spend and where your limit is. And if a certain threshold is reached, it will alert you. But Cost Explorer will just help you understand and visualize your costs and usage over time. So let's go to compute services. This is the most popular part of AWS. Everyone is talking about EC2 instances. What is an EC2 instance? It's compute instance. Let's think of it like a server that you're offered by AWS to run your applications, and it's also secure and resizable. It also comes with its own compute capacity where there's a storage stored. And actually, let's go to one here real quick. Let's go to EC2 instances and just a brief how to navigate the console as well. So you come here, open EC2. Okay. The reason why EC2 is there is because I navigate this place often. If you need to look for it, just come here and type EC2. There you see, it's in the search bar. So currently have no instances running, but if I'd like to launch an instance, I come here to instances. You can see there's nothing running, and launch an instance is an option here. I'll take you through launching one instance. It's pretty simple, by the way, nothing complicated. That's a good thing about the console. It's only tiresome when you have to couple of clicks here and there. If I was to use a command line interface, it would have been really quick, really fast, nothing much. So I need to name my instance here. If I'm a participant in the Andrew Brown, shout out to Andrew Brown for his bootcamp. So if I name it AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, there we go. So that is the tag of my instance that I'm about to launch. We have several images here. These are called Amazon machine images. You can choose a Linux image that is Amazon. They're the ones who tailor this to their needs. And we have Mac image. We have Ubuntu. It's a Linux distro. We have Microsoft, Red Hat. Essentially, I love the Ubuntu servers, and then you also need to know which one is free tier available and which one is not. So if I come here and choose different Ubuntu servers, we have the version 22.04. I think that's the latest one. We have the 20.04 Ubuntu server. And you can see these two are free tier eligible. I'm going to go for the 20.04, and you can see it's 64-bit, and it's going to use elastic block storage. The architecture is here. Next, you go for the instance type. There are several instance types depending on what you're going to do. Some of them are IOPS. How do I call it? suited for input output per second. So there's also those ones that are suited for storage, and those others that are suited for virtual CPU. So we have several instance types here. I'll go for the T2 micro. And every time you're launching an instance, you're going to need access to that instance. And that's where the key pair comes in. So you have to create a new key pair that will help you access your instance. So you come here, create a new key pair. I will not be doing that for now on the basics of time. We have network settings, whether you want your instance to be accessible from anywhere or only SSH. You need SSH to access your instance, so that has to be on. And you also have HTTPS and HTTP traffic from the internet. Perhaps you want your server to be a web server. We have storage that you want to add on your instance. Remember, you also have to check whether it's free or not, if it's free eligible or not. So you can see my storage comes with 8 GB and the root volume, but I can add a new volume. I think free tier eligible can go up to 30 of elastic block storage, general purpose SSD or magnetic storage. So let me just remove that. And from there, we can launch our instance. I will not be doing that for now, but you get the gist of how EC2, that is what EC2 is. And there are several types of EC2 instances. We have on-demand instances and you have spot instances. So on-demand is just what I was about to launch. Those are instances that are available when you need them. And the prices are generally affordable, but still high. If you compare to spot instances, a spot instance is an instance that is bidded for. So perhaps you're trying to run something on your EC2 instance. So before running this spot instance, refer to best practices. That's step number 1. Pick the spot instance option and you choose all instances and availability zones that work for your workloads. Next is to choose your interruption behavior. If you have a spot instance, you're bidding from a lower price than what the on-demand price is. So the on-demand instance can be $0.05 per hour. But if you talk about a spot instance, it will be $0.0001 per hour. And the highest bidder is the one who gets the instance. And unfortunately, it can be terminated or stopped at any time or even hibernated. Next is reserved instances. These are instances that you come and you say, I need this amount of instance reservation because I'm running this and this in this time of the month. Perhaps you're a banker and you need to, a bank needs to compute payrolls for this specific instance, using this specific instance, and at this time of the month you need that, so you can reserve that instance. And reserved instances come generally cheaper than on-demand instances. We have savings plans instances, we have dedicated host instances. So saving plans is when you take instance for a period of time, perhaps 3 years, 4 years, long term. Then you calculate if you are to use on-demand instances for 4 years, and if you are to use savings plan instances for 4 years, the savings plan that you're given is very affordable and you can afford, and it saves a lot of money. That's why it's called a savings plan. So you have dedicated hosts as well. With dedicated hosts, you dedicate an entire server machine for you only. So here you can see, according to licensing rules in the place where you stay, we have specify your licensing rules. Perhaps if you work for the government in your country and they demand you to only have on-prem or a dedicated server, you need to utilize this. So you attach the licensing rule to your AMI and you specify the dedicated host management preferences. And now you have your entire machine on the AWS cloud server dedicated to only you, for safety reasons or for licensing rules according to your place of residence. Next, you have Amazon EC2 auto-scaling. So with auto-scaling, you maintain applications availability depending on how you need it. So we have you scale upwards or horizontally or vertically. So when you're scaling horizontally like this, yes, when you're scaling horizontally, that means you're increasing the number of instances that you might need. If you're scaling vertically, that means you're changing the specifications of your instance. When you are talking about 8 GB RAM, you're moving to a 16 GB RAM. If you're talking about 5 instances, then you're multiplying them to 10. That is horizontally. Vertically is you changing the storage and the block storage, the storage that you're going to use. So that is Amazon EC2 auto-scaling. Next, you have AppRunner. AppRunner is a fully managed service by AWS. So it's for developers. If you have an application that you'd like to run real quick, you just deploy it. And I think this will be serverless. It's like you're only working with your code. So if you want it to run on a server that you do not need to maintain, just give it to AppRunner and it will run the app. So here they're talking about add a source, connect your source code or container image, and select deployment settings. So configure, build, and service settings, review and create, verify all settings, and secure your URL for your production-ready service from AppRunner. So it's easy for developers to quickly deploy containerized web applications and APIs at scale with no prior infrastructure experience required. So you won't think about servers or scaling. Everything will be done for you. You have more time to focus on your application. We have AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Now, this is a bit different. If we were to go on, there's something called CloudFormation. This is a bit similar to it. AWS CloudFormation is used by DevOps especially, where you give it a script or YAML written file that has how you want your container or your services to be run. But Elastic Beanstalk will do all that for you. You just need to specify. So the way I differentiate them is I say Elastic Beanstalk is not for DevOps people. It's for anyone who does not want to do the DevOps part. You want AWS to do the DevOps part for you. That is Elastic Beanstalk. So they will deploy the application and scaling the application and services that are run in Java, PHP, Node, Python, and they will run it on the server, web server that you need, whether it's Apache, Nginx, or passenger and internet information services. So your work is to just upload your code and Beanstalk automatically handles everything else. So you as a developer, you do not need to know anything about DevOps. It will do that for you. Next, you talk about Fargate. Fargate is a compute engine for ECS, container, Elastic Container Service that allows you to run containers without having to manage servers or clusters. Sometimes you might get confused with all these EC2 compute services that they offer, but you will be able to understand them with time. Just need practice. So Fargate and Lambda very similar. Lambda lets you run code. So if you're going to need a part of your application running separately, you can use an API to trigger that. Perhaps you need it to run on a different backend service. So you can use that. You can use Lambda, take it as an advantage to do that. I'm just rushing real quick because we are running out of time. And last but not least, we have Amazon Contact Center. I'm only going to reach till Contact Center for now. We'll have a part 2 soon. And the Contact Center is Amazon's way of interacting with its clients. So it's a self-service, omni-channel cloud contact center service that makes it easy for any business to deliver better customer service at lower cost. So customers will, there's a fast, secure, high-quality, personalized customer service. Amazon Connect is a service that AWS offers. So it's an omni-channel cloud contact center driving better customer experience. So we have agents and managers that have efficient tools in one UI to deliver productive customer conversations at improve CSAT. So from my understanding, this should be for those trying to interact with their clients using AWS Connect. Yes, it's a cloud contact center service. Yes. So we meet again next time. We'll talk about containers. We have several containers there, Elastic Container Service Registry. We have Kubernetes in there. We have databases, talking about Amazon Relational Database Service, RDS. We'll talk about DynamoDB. We have developer tools, what I was talking about, CloudFormation. We have management and governance. We'll talk about security, networking, VPC, what is a virtual private cloud, what is a load balancer. And we'll also talk about storage, S3 instances, and the advantage that comes with them, and how you can store data in the cloud safely. That has been part 1 of AWS under 90 days of DevOps. This is what I have learned, and perhaps next time someone else will share, or I will share. I'm very, very comfortable doing this. So thank you.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. Thank you very much for that awesome presentation. That was really, really cool. Thanks for the presentation, and thank you for for choosing to share your knowledge with us. Richard, do you have any thing to say to Mark, your feedback or your comment?
Yeah, Mark, it was an amazing presentation. I learned really a lot from you. Yeah, it was amazing.
That was amazing. I really learned a lot from Mark. Well, that's the power of learning as a community, because as a community, it really pushes you to go ahead and do more research and and learn a lot compared to if you were learning alone at your own time. Or so that was very nice, Mark. And if you're just watching us, like if you're just watching us, we will have a next call on mid of March, I guess. So we'll be hoping to have you join us. And if you have any feedback, if you have any questions regarding Mark's presentation regarding AWS, please kindly drop your comments or feedback on the comment sections, and we will be glad to reach out to you to help you. And if you are a learner, you're trying to transition into DevOps for the cloud, you can move over to Women in Cloud Native community on Discord and join other learners on the same path as you. And that will be really great it will be really great to have you join us, because as learners and in a community, I believe you're going to achieve your goals if you join the community and learn together. So before we the call ends, Mark, would you like to share the link to your GitHub resource?
Yes. So pasted the link to my GitHub in the description, and I'm sure it will be added on the YouTube description as well. So feel free to check out my AWS DevOps roadmap, and we have white papers here you can use for resources and training material. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
And we will all right. We will also leave a link to the Discord server where you can join us. And even if you're just starting, it doesn't matter. There are other people on the same joining as you are. So you could actually meet someone in the community that you can hold hands with together to achieve your goals. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for this awesome session, Mark. Thank you for taking us through AWS. It was really a great presentation, and we did enjoy and learn a lot from you.
Thank you as well. So
right.
anyone with questions, if you'd like to ask, you can find me on MuriFX on Twitter. I think you'll see that in the description, and also in the Women in Cloud Native. We are one big community. We value every one of us, and feel free to join. And our beautiful moderator here will guide you and help you in everything that you need. Thank you.
Right, that was great. And Shelley, would you want to have a final word before we leave?
Yeah, yeah. If you want to like learn anything about cloud and DevOps, please join us. We have amazing people like Rosaline, Mark, and many more who are like there to help you anytime. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
All right. So with that.